See, let me give you a couple examples. By helping this person too much, you're actually teaching them to rely on you, right? When you help them too much, you're teaching them to rely on you, and this keeps them from actually growing up and becoming mature. This is a huge point. I feel like I could say this about 10 times so it just sinks in our brains. So I am going to say it one more time at least. By helping too much, you're teaching that person to rely on you, and it keeps them from actually growing and becoming mature. It also keeps them from learning to rely on God. Because guess what? If you got run over by a truck tomorrow and you're no longer there, they can't rely on you anymore. They're going to have to learn to rely on God eventually. You cannot be their savior. This is the analogy I want to give. We have this like cord. Imagine like this is my husband, and I have just been helping and helping and helping and helping and helping. And basically, I have him trained to be plugged into me. Like I'm his power source. You know, I will solve all the problems. I'll carry all the weight of the family responsibilities. I'll do everything. If you need it, I'm it. And it might be because I fear that if I draw a boundary that I'm afraid about his, uncomfortable, angry response, whatever. But for whatever reason, I've trained him to get his, I'm a power source, right? But we're supposed to actually be training them to unplug from us and plug into Jesus. This is supposed to be the power source. Again, I'm not a reliable power source. I mean, I could get run over by a truck tomorrow, and then if my husband's plugged into me, he's going to be like, what am I going to do? Or if I've trained my children to be plugged into me, I get run over by a truck. I don't know why I keep on saying that, but anyway, I'm no longer around like, oh my goodness, what are they going to do? Because I've trained them that I'm the one that's got all the answers. I will help you with everything, right? Instead, I'm supposed to be training them, my husband, my children, whoever, my mother, to plug into Jesus. This is the true power source. The reliable power source, I can short out. God doesn't, right? So that's our job, is to train people to, it's not that we're supposed to train them, but we're not supposed to be their power source. We're supposed to show them that God is the power source. Also, by catering to what makes that other person happy, you're teaching them. You're teaching them to be selfish. You're teaching them to have an entitlement mentality. When you cater to whatever they want to do, you're teaching them to be selfish. You're ingraining them an entitlement mentality. By bailing them out of natural consequences of their decisions, their behavior, you are getting in the way of God. Ooh, that's kind of a strong statement. But is it not true? When I bail someone out of the natural consequences from their decision, I'm getting in God's way of the discipline He has for them, the character growth that He's trying to foster in them. I'm in the way of God when I keep on trying to spare this person from natural consequences. Are you getting in God's way? From a good heart. Maybe you don't want to see your child suffer or your husband suffer from his bad decision or whatever, but are you getting in God's way? God's desperately trying to mature this, like getting in the way all the time. God's like, could you just move out of the way here for a second? I'm trying to grow their character, right? Are you getting in God's way? Also, by walking on eggshells, and some of you know what I mean by that, by walking on eggshells and refusing to confront disrespectful or destructive behavior or poor choices, you're enabling that kind of behavior to continue. You're maybe to even escalate when we just walk on eggshells and we refuse to really confront wrong behavior, poor decisions, harmful decisions, disrespectful behavior. You're enabling that to continue. Oh. Do you see why codependency is so nasty? And it pervades so many of our relationships. So that's the bad news. Let's go to the good news part, because that was kind of heavy, right? So what does a healthy, non-codependent marriage look like? We'll just talk about marriage here for a second. In a healthy, interdependent marriage, each person emphasizes the other's strengths and encourages the other person to overcome personal weaknesses. Does that sound right? Yeah. Each encourages the other to be dependent on the Lord while being responsive to that person's legitimate needs.